Coming at you again real quick with another budget build. I think this is probably the most powerful setup that you can do at $300. I've actually built this combo a couple of times, so this is the first time doing any 1440p or 4K testing. Incoming triggered people. I think you could probably get this a little bit cheaper, maybe a little bit. I mean, you can see by the brand on some things here that this is as low dollar as you can go on certain items. But I also did build this without compromising aesthetics. So I mean, you could definitely get a cheaper case. There are definitely cheaper cases out there if you really want to save every single dollar possible. But other than that, I think most of this is as low as you can get, unless you're getting the GPU at a lesser cost. But although right now I think the GTX 1080 even on the low side would be $100+. As of right now, the market's kind of crazy. We're moving into a point where I think GPUs are going to get insanely expensive. So it's almost to the point where it almost makes sense to buy brand new. And it's got me even recently with like the release or the failed release of the 50 series, kind of has me taking a second look at the 3050 after I just kind of poo-pooed on that graphics card, simply because of the fact that with Micro Center just restocked them. So I was like, they have 11 available and they're like $164, and $164 I believe is still too much cost for that 3050. I would like to see that 3050 more like $120 or like even $100, because its overall performance really isn't that great. But as far as like a budget card to get started, this brand new, like, you're not really going to find much that performs better than that in that price range. Although you could say that you could just go up, spend another $20, and you can get a RX 6600, which from my testing recently, it plays great. It's definitely way better than the 3050. But again, if you're trying to save money, as much money as possible, then yeah, the 3050 isn't necessarily a bad card. It'll play everything, just won't play everything on high settings. Now again, here, this is one of those things that people love to talk shit about when I'm talking about these, like playing at 1440p and 4K. Like, the argument is 30 FPS is unplayable and fake frames. All right, well, fake frames still look good. It still looks better than the other resolutions. And as far as NVIDIA goes, their entire 50 series is based on frame generation from when they marketed it. So it seems like the market's going in that direction. The native isn't the thing. So I guess if you're a native purist, you could argue that that's not the proper resolution, but it is. And then, and as far as 30 FPS not being playable, well, you can watch the footage and see that it's fine. It's not stuttering, it's not lagging, it's playing just fine. As a matter of fact, this particular PC build I left hooked up on my main setup for like 3 or 4 days, and probably racked up at least 8 hours of game time. I know at one point in time I sat and played Wukong for 6 hours. Yeah, it's pretty easy, 6 hours, because I was wiping my ass off on that stupid tiger boss, and then I level farmed for a good while. It took several hours, I wasn't expecting. But yeah, guys, again, I think there's a lot of gaslighting going on where you have to buy a $1,000+ GPU to play like at higher resolutions, and that's just not the case. If you want to test it for yourself, just get a monitor that's capable of playing at higher resolutions and then test it out. If most of the time when you see me throwing these games up and I'm playing in higher resolution on GPUs that people are telling you can't do it on, I'm not really playing with the settings too much. It's just I test the presets. I start off on the higher side where I think it could play, and see how it reacts, if it lags, stutters, and then if it does, then you go down to the next step. So when you see me throwing these up at high settings, medium settings, or whatever, it's because I've already tested at higher settings, and it just can't do it. I guess this one in particular, I did play with the super resolution a little bit because the preset was a little on the low side. I just kind of wanted to see how high I could turn it up before it would be an issue. So where you see the settings and when I'm showing them, that's about as high as you can go before it does become a lag issue and before it becomes unplayable. So guys, again, if somebody's telling you can't play at this resolution with just GPU or the setup, then I wouldn't just take people's word for it. Just, put the settings in yourself, see how it looks, if the game looks good, because honestly, the game looks better playing it than it is for me showing you guys, because most of the time I'm editing with Clipchamp or whatnot, and I can't upload in the resolution that the game is playing on. I can only do 1080p version. Which same thing with YouTube. You're not seeing it in 4K. You're seeing it in 1080p. So the game actually looks great in these settings, and especially Warhammer. Warhammer is the one where I really see the differences the most. Warhammer being like the details up close in the armor. When you see up close shots between 1440p and 4K, the differences are very noticeable. So yeah, I like to play with the maximum settings. And as far as Warhammer goes, you can just throw the ultra presets and let everything do the adjustments there, and they look just fine and completely playable. So yeah, and then for those of you guys that want to milk out FPS in Fortnite, I mean, it plays over 200. I mean, it goes as high as 240, I guess, depending on the environment, where you're at exactly and whatnot, where you're looking. And then, of course, it'll drop down a little bit when you go into combat, just like any game does, which is why when I show you guys gameplay footage, I don't show you guys me just walking somewhere where there's nothing coming in and out of frame, because I think that's disingenuous. Because when action kicks in and when you're in a boss fight particularly is when the game is most demanding. So a lot of times when you're seeing these games at 30 something FPS when I'm playing them, it's because that's the most stressful environment version of the game to see where it's at. Because I could show you where I'm just running around the landscape and the average is like 48 FPS, but I think that's not fair to show. I want to show you exactly what it can do. So you could run it on a higher setting that runs around in the landscape and be fine, and then will lag out on a boss. So when I'm showing you the benchmarking, it is at its most stressful, so that way you can see what it can play at its most stressful point in the game. Because I don't think it does you any service to have a high-ass setting and then you transition into a high-stress moment in the game, and then all of a sudden you're lagging out. So again, just showing you what things can do. Yeah, just I wanted to make a quick in and out. I thought this computer looks pretty good. I'm going to be buying more of these cases as long as they're available. $58. I think sometimes they're up like $62 on Amazon. Unfortunately, both times I bought these cases, I've had accidents with them. Like the first case was completely destroyed, looked like it was smushed by a forklift and then hidden by Amazon in a bigger box. The second time I got it, wasn't as obvious damage until I pulled it out, and then the back panel of the PC was dented in enough to be noticeable. Then instead of returning it, I just went ahead and kept it and built it in the case. And even my son called it, saying the fact that the case looks like a pre-built. And that's what I was like, that's pretty cool. I was like, yeah, it does look nice, and maybe some white cable extensions would be the only thing else you could do to like kind of step it up. But I kind of took advantage of the fact that the tints are there, that it's heavy tinted, so I didn't bother wasting the extra $17, $18, was it $19 with taxes for the cable extensions I usually buy. And again, guys, if this is just showing you as cheap as you can go while still looking decent. So if you want to go a little cheaper, you can look around for a different case option. And if you want to go a little bit more expensive, then by all means you can do so. But again, the E5-2680 version 4, the Xeon CPU works great with the 1080. Yeah, I think that you're going to be hard pressed to find a setup that's going to play this well, that's this cheap. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and peace.